Hey guys, so today we got a new video, and today's video is going to be about using Smite in the Simulacrum, how more of like a gameplay tips you could say. I've gone over gearing and talents and a lot of stuff like that, and building the build is one thing, but then actually playing it and in the Simulacrum is a little bit different. There are some little tricks, tips you can use to maximize your clear speed, or if you're on a lower damage setup, or you don't really, you're hovering around that, 5 to, under 10 million DPS. There are a few things you can do that will drastically increase your damage, mostly against the bosses, or in the later waves where the mobs become a lot more tanky. Uh, which can be quite difficult on lower damage or lower budget versions of the build. Because basically, if the mobs are hitting you for a long enough time, they're eventually going to kill you, or it's going to take way too long to kill the boss, and you're going to lose a lot of time, and it's not really fun. Okay, so first of all, I want to go over a few things. So we have a few abilities we'll go over. We have our molten shell, and we'll get into when we use this. Most of the time I have it on left click. I also have it bound to another key so I can press it while I'm attacking. Um, and we'll get into when we use this in a little bit. And we have our main smite. We got our vaal smite. And we want to use the vaal smite. There's two situations where you actually want to use the vaal smite. One is to help you clear a big pack of mobs. And so if we look at the vaal smite, well, first of all, vaal smite, when you use it, it actually does a lot of damage and clears quite a bit. But then if you look at the buff that the vaal smite gives you, it's actually a lot more added lightning damage compared to the normal smite. So using this, even if it's just one target, just using vaal smite will give you a lot more single target due to the buff you get from the vaal smite with the added lightning damage. So I'll use this sometimes against bosses, even if there's only one mob around, to get some extra damage. Yeah. Okay. Next, you can also use this to sort of shotgun bosses or tanky mobs, and the way you do this is you basically group up the boss or whatever mob you're trying to kill. You group up a bunch of mobs around him, and you use your vaal smite. And this can pretty much one-shot a lot of bosses. Like I've one-shot Colossus and Omniphobia right now consistently up to wave 28 or so. Need a little bit more damage before we can one-shot them at wave 30. But it is very effective. I'll show you after we go over these abilities. I'll do some, what do you call it? Wave 29, wave 30. Maybe we can see some of this in action. Okay, so it can be for vaal smite. We want to use it to sort of give us some breathing room against the mobs. We're getting overwhelmed by the mobs. Use the vaal smite, clear the whole pack, get some extra damage, and it'll help you to push forward into the harder waves. Another good time to use that is, you notice in Simulacrum, there is this paralyzing touch debuff, and there's like the hands that come out of the ground. And there's a lot of things that will slow your action speed, so you actually won't be able to attack, and the mobs will keep hitting you, and they'll keep applying the paralyzing touch. It's like these casters shooting you from all over the place. You can't reach them. And one thing you can do is you can just vaal smite. It'll take quite a long time to actually get the vaal smite off. Character will be there in like slow motion doing it, but once the vaal smite goes off, you'll pretty much clear everything on the screen, and it'll reset the paralyzing touch debuff, allowing you to sort of not just be like stuck there forever, right? Another thing is, so when you're going to be using your vaal smite, there's a couple things you want to do before you actually use it. If you don't have a mage blood, you want to make sure your flasks are actually up, because flasks are quite a bit of damage for this build. I like to use my Bottled Faith, and I'll push Berserk at the same time. So my D key. So A and D, just push those both at the same time. So we get the Bottled Faith, we get the Berserk, and then I'll push Vaal Smite. And then I'll probably, usually I use Haste, Vaal Haste as well, to just, finish off the rest of the boss. But, so I guess the combination of Berserk with Vaal Smite, and you got a lot of mobs around the boss, is very devastating and pretty much will just outright kill most bosses in Simulacrum, especially in Simulacrum. It's very nice. Okay, and that is about it. So let's go over a wave 29, wave 30, and we'll kind of get to see this in action. Okay, there is actually one thing to note about Smite is that you can double hit with it. What I mean by double hit, it's not really just with Smite. There's a lot of strike skills that can do this, like Lightning Strike can do the same thing. But Smite has um, two damaging parts. It's got the beam that comes down, and then it's got the AoE. And if you stand a certain distance from the mob, like say the mob is this guy here, if you stand like pretty close to him, you're only going to get one hit on the mob. But if you're like stand a little bit far away from him, maybe like this, you will get the main hit from Smite, and then also your ancestral call support will generate another attack, and then that can actually hit them in some way. So when if you're trying to maximize damage, try to stay a little bit far away from the mob so you can get those extra hits in. Alright, so let's get into the wave. I put my totem down, but totem is pretty much going to die right away. And usually around when the mobs start spawning in, I'll do a Vaal Smite, just to clear out the mobs. It does help you get some extra reward stacks too. And right now we are just waiting for the boss to spawn. He'll spawn in any minute. Okay, so there's the bosses. We just Berserk, Vaal Smite, and you can see we one-shot Omniphobia. Narcosis did take a little bit more time, but I guess he's a little more tanky. So it does happen very fast. You can just go back and see, but just push Berserk, Bottled Faith, and then Vaal Smite, and I mean, my damage is pretty good right now, but even before I had the Mage Blood, you can do the exact same thing and maybe take away half the boss's health. So it's pretty effective. Okay, so let's do wave 30. So you can do the same thing again. So wave 29, 30, usually the boss spawns in pretty soon, so we don't want to use all of our Vaal Smite charges. We'll keep one charge up all the time. We'll just clear this one. Okay. Alright, we got the bosses. We'll wait for the mobs to spawn in. Okay, the mobs are coming in. We use the Bottled Faith, Berserk, Vaal Smite. Alright, and they're dead. So, yeah. Definitely saves quite a bit of time on these later waves if you sort of play around the Vaal Smite. And you use your defensive cooldowns like Molten Shell to just basically give your Smite time to recharge, and once you have your charges up, you group everything up and then just kind of one-shot them. But anyways, that's it for this video. I hope these tips kind of help you, and let me know if there's any other kind of tips or things like that you want me to go over in future videos. Alright, and good luck. See you next time.